If you had to guess which actor's career was destroyed by a single role, you'd probably think of someone who gave a bad performance, someone who couldn't act, someone who simply wasn't good enough for the moment. You'd be wrong. This is the story of an actor who did everything right, who trained for years, who earned his shot fairly, who delivered something genuinely groundbreaking, and still watched his career collapse anyway. Not because of what he did wrong, but because of what an entire audience decided to blame him for. That same year his film broke box office records, he was standing on a bridge in New York. Not for the view, but for something terrifying you'll know later in the video. This story begins with a name most people didn't know yet: Ahmed Best. He did not grow up with connections, no industry family, no Hollywood zip code. He grew up in South Bronx, and he found performing the way genuinely talented people usually do, not by planning, by accident. His mother was a percussionist, and she was his first teacher, so drumming was just something he grew up around, long before it meant anything more than that. Years later, while teaching one of her classes, he noticed a sign on the wall: percussionists who move. He had no idea what it meant, he just walked in. That decision is where his training in physical theater began, built entirely around movement and dance, the kind of work most actors avoid because it strips everything away. No dialogue to hide behind, no close-up to rescue a weak moment, just a body in space, and either you hold the room or you don't. Ahmed held the room. By his early 20s, he had earned a spot in Stomp. If you've never seen Stomp, 8 performers, no instruments, no script, just their bodies and whatever they find around them, trash cans, brooms, their own hands, and they make an audience feel something with it. Ahmed Best was doing that 8 times a week on the San Francisco stage in California, while most actors his age were still waiting tables and hoping for a callback. Then, in 1997, George Lucas came back to Star Wars after a 16-year absence. The most anticipated Hollywood return in a generation. And Lucas needed something that had never been done before: a fully digital leading character whose every movement, every expression, every physical choice would be built entirely from a live human performance. Not animation, not puppetry, a performer whose body would become the foundation of something that only existed inside a computer. Ahmed Best auditioned. Out of every performer Lucas considered, he got it. And in that moment, without fully understanding what he was stepping into, Ahmed Best became one of the first performers in Hollywood history to deliver a leading performance entirely through performance capture in a major blockbuster. This was years before Andy Serkis, years before Gollum, years before any of this was considered normal, celebrated, or even properly understood by the industry itself. For the next 2 years, Ahmed Best worked at Leavesden Studios in England, mastering a technology no actor had ever used to carry a movie before. Ahmed Best had no idea that the same year would make him one of the most talked about names in Hollywood, and one of the most attacked. 19th May, 1999. The Phantom Menace opens worldwide. 16 years of anticipation behind it. The biggest Star Wars opening in history. $474 million at the box office. By every commercial measure, the film is a phenomenon. But something specific was happening inside those numbers. The reviews aren't just mixed, they're strangely focused. Critics, fans, and entertainment outlets keep circling back to the same target. Not the dialogue, not the pacing, not even the story. Jar Jar Binks. The film was a hit, but the character was a disaster. Jar Jar Binks quickly became the symbol of everything many fans believed was wrong with the new Star Wars. And that's what makes Ahmed Best's situation so uniquely cruel. Most actors can put distance between themselves and a character. A villain can say, "That's not me." A voice actor can remain largely invisible. Ahmed Best has neither of those protections. Performance capture means the character's physical presence is built directly from the actor's own movements, timing, and choices. There is no clear line between the performance people are mocking and the performer who created it. Ahmed Best knew that. He felt every single word of it. And the people who had hired him, the studio, the production, said nothing publicly in his defense, not one word. After the release, Ahmed Best waited for what comes next. The next call, the next offer, the next project. That is how the industry works. The phone tells you where you stand. Not with anything close to the scale of what he had just done. George Lucas moved forward with Episode 2. Jar Jar's role was dramatically reduced. Fewer scenes, less dialogue, less screen time. No public explanation. Just a quiet, systematic, scaling back of the character Ahmed had built from nothing. He never again landed a role anywhere close to the scale of what the Phantom Menace had promised. TV work, voice roles, small appearances. The career that might have been expected after such a groundbreaking role of that ambition and technical scale simply never arrived. What almost nobody knew, what he never told a single person in the industry, was how close 1999 had actually come to being the year everything ended. This is the moment we told you about at the start. In July 2018, Ahmed Best posted a photo on Twitter. Him and his young son standing together looking out over the water. The caption was not what anyone expected. 20 years next year, I faced a media backlash that still affects my career today. This was the place I almost ended my life. It's still hard to talk about. I survived, and now this little guy is my gift for survival. The place in the photo wasn't random. It was the Brooklyn Bridge. In 1999, the same year The Phantom Menace came out, Ahmed Best had stood on that bridge. The backlash was already consuming the conversation around Jar Jar Binks. The death threats had started arriving. He stood on that bridge and considered not coming back. The little boy standing beside him had become the reason he chose to keep living. Ahmed Best never got the career many expected would follow a role of that scale. That much is true. He helped pioneer a new way of bringing digital characters to life. But instead of becoming known for the breakthrough, he became known for the backlash. For almost 2 decades, he carried that privately, in a way most people who were laughing never knew about. Years later, he returned to the Star Wars universe, not as the punchline people remembered, but as Jedi Master Kelleran Beck in The Mandalorian. For many, it felt like a long overdue acknowledgement of the performer who had helped change filmmaking long before the industry was ready to appreciate what he had done. The man behind one of the most important technological performances of his generation was remembered for the reaction instead of the achievement. The role did not define him, it just delayed him.